Money FM 89.3. Best of the evening runway. Why it matters.
MoneyFM 89.3. Good afternoon. It is the evening runway. I'm Elliott Danker, together with my guest host, Yo E Lin, and it is now time for Why It Matters. This is something that you probably see a lot, people in that C-suite position, a high, director type of thing. Do you ever encounter them, figuring out or trying to figure out what they're going to do post-retirement?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I believe they do.
Yep.
Usually I meet them in our professional capacity, so we don't really get to talk.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, talk about
But it's like they got
life.
all these years of experience that, okay,
Right.
I want to retire now, but let's not waste it.
Oh, for sure. I've met so many of them. They don't want to be working daily with the kind of commitment that they have right now. But also at the same time, they still want to be able to apply their skill set.
Sure.
They want to realize themselves. And I think here's the most important thing. They want to be connected and engaged.
Yeah. And that's where, one would try to go for like a board position, but that's often accessible only through referrals or connections. Mm-hmm. So not so easy. It's about who you know, right?
And also at the same time, if you want to go into like a new industry, you want to learn something new. Yeah, the opportunities are kind of limited.
Yeah, true. But according to Board Matchup, a digital platform aiming to reshape boardroom dynamics, change is inevitable. 79% of today's employers prioritize specific expertise and skills in their hiring process. Yet, this is often limited to entry and mid-level positions. There's always a problem somewhere, I tell you. But let's find out more about how Board Matchup is spotlighting post-retirement careers for people like directors or even those in the C-suite position. On the line with us this afternoon is Karunesh Prasad, who is the CEO and founder of Board Matchup. Karunesh, good afternoon. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. And thanks for having me on the show.
Quite interesting. I suppose give us a little bit of an introduction on Board Matchup. You guys have a mission to reshape boardroom dynamics. How's that work?
No, this is exciting times, I must say, Elliot. We started working on this few months back, literally. But the preparation has been going on for the last many years because as we see, there are a lot of people who are actually, as you rightly said just now, looking at their new chapter in the career. Very talented people have made enough money in their career and they just want to remain gainfully engaged. At the same time, I think it's very important for people who are looking at the new chapter to also for their own well-being and everything, they need to connect the dots with what they can do further in their career. And that's where Board Matchup comes in. And we created this ecosystem, I would say, which is actually helping people with that.
That sounds great. I think nowadays when we talk about retirement, it doesn't mean we're going to sit home and do nothing. That means maybe just in a different capacity, to be engaged in a different way. So I understand you have the flex executive economy. Could you tell us more about that and what inspired the concept?
This is the term that we coined ourselves, and mainly because when we talk about the concept of executives doing exactly the new lifestyle that they want to pursue, we can't use the traditional terms that we use normally for gig economy or open talent economy, and that's where I wanted to differentiate them from the rest of the crowd by using flex executive economy. So that's point number one. But point number two is that there's no retirement happening anymore. People are actually changing their lifestyle simply to be able to do something different than the 9-to-5 job.
That's true.
And that's what is exciting about it.
So, like say, for example, I'm not a C-suite, but if I were, but I've spent my whole life in media, say I wanted to go into tech, maybe you could use me as a case study. How would someone from my own background be able to engage this way?
There are so many different skills I personally see them coming across to the other industries.
Okay.
And I just heard another conversation on your show, actually, about a colleague who went on to do coaching. And I'm seeing so many other people who are changing their profession, completely doing new things, and using the anchor of their earlier experience to use it in the new work that they can do or they can potentially work on. And that's where I see that many people after retirement now, sustainability or digitization was not the thing for people who did work at the C-suite level 10 years back. But these are the guys who are guiding companies today actually go in that path because they know strategy, they know leadership.
Oh, that's true. Okay, just to follow up a little bit on that. So say Elliott wants to make the transition. Elliott wants to be appointed.
My bosses are not listening, don't worry.
So say Elliott's going to retire next week. Is there anything that, some kind of a coaching course or some kind of skill set that
preparation.
he might need? Yeah.
And such a great question you asked just now, because what we did was, in fact, we are right now working through board matchup on an accelerator program simply to prepare people for the next chapter.
Okay.
And what we are doing is there are 3 different components of that. One of them is actually personal branding. And I know that many people, Elliott doesn't need that. Personal branding is very high, so that's absolutely fine.
I think we all do to a certain extent, for sure.
But there's also a need for some amount of mentoring, some amount of coaching. There are a lot of courses available, Singapore Institute of Directors, INSEAD, you name it, and everybody has a course or the other for directorship, which is fairly sound. But what I'm looking at is how can we make it more pragmatic by allowing people to learn those skills which they really need. And they are more on the pragmatic side in terms of not the theory, but the practical side of transitioning into a boardroom role.
Karunesh, this is maybe slightly left field from what we were going to talk about, but I wonder, you talked about coaching or preparing for that post-retirement job. Is there even a lack of coaching people, say like myself, to become leaders? Teaching and taking the effort to build leaders. And when you're in that position of being able to access strategic thinking in your brain, maybe you will know what to do when you retire.
And I keep meeting so many people who are busy in their 9 to 5 to the extent that they never even think about having even a CV for themselves. Their network allows them to take up the next job. There's past manager or boss pulls them into the new company.
Yeah.
And they come to a stage where they suddenly find, oh my God, I'm not even prepared for what I'm going to do a few years from now. And that's what we are seeing.
Okay, I'm just thinking out loud here. I guess nowadays we're dealing with a very different bunch of maybe retirees. Very different from what we used to talk about, right? Yeah. Like in the past, we talked about, maybe doing Tai Chi. I'll be hiking daily. I'm going to learn how to paint. But now I'm going to transition into becoming a coach or like become a member of the board of director. So if I'm going to pick up new skill sets, I know I'm going to have to learn something different, but I am not going to sit in the room with a bunch of 30-year-olds. How do I feel comfortable doing that? What's the resources that's available for people like me?
So 2 different thoughts here. One is that it's about the ratio. So what you want to do with Tai Chi, probably you still want to do that, but you want to do more of that and less of spending time in the office room, right? So that's one shift. But when we talk about spending time with people, I think this is the best time to spend with younger generation of entrepreneurs, leaders, because there's so much of talent and knowledge that has been gained over a period of time that when they share that with the right folks, and you can see the startup ecosystem globally is so vibrant right now, they do need that support, but they can't afford that actually. And when they can't afford that, the best or the easiest thing to do is to look at some of these talented people and then ask them to join them as independent directors, non-executive directors, or even advisory roles. So in board matchup, what we are doing is exactly that. We are just making this process seamless and democratizing the process by making them available globally. And that's what is the effort here.
Do you guys look at things like, cultural fit as well?
So that's the other, challenge that we see. So culture fit is certainly required, but more from the collaboration point of view.
All right.
But any board, I think, is more successful when they are able to bring the diversity of their thought process, and it needs to be something not homogeneous, but something where we get different type of thoughts and different point of views coming on the table. So culture fit, yes, but more for the collaboration, less for the homogeneity of thoughts.
Speaking of which, say in the coming years, do you foresee any trends in board appointments and leadership roles?
Actually, that's what led us to create Board Matchup. We are seeing a very clear trend on multiple different fronts. One is the whole thing about flex executive economy, or you may call it gig economy, which is real. That's certainly happening. But apart from that, also the way people work or the way people not work much earlier. So people in late 40s or early 50s are saying that, you know what, I don't want to do 9 to 5 anymore. Also, we can see that financial independence are coming to such executives much earlier. These are successful people. They don't want to sit at home. They want to remain gainfully engaged. Their knowledge is a lot, and we want to use that knowledge. So all these trends put together, I think that ecosystem of flexi executive economy is what is going to bring all those trends together to create this platform or the ecosystem.
Certainly one to watch out for. We have been speaking with Karunesh Prasad, who's the CEO and founder of Board Matchup. Do appreciate your time today. Take care and have a great Thursday evening.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on the show again.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts